Don't you want the story twice? Have no fear, the studio say remake so.
Recording. I'm recording. I felt like my gain got a little high on the last one, so I'm gonna turn that's up. I'm gonna turn it down a little bit.
Well, the important thing is that you didn't blow out the mic ever, which
didn't I? It sounded like I did.
Cannot be said for me. So
it sounded like I blew it out a little bit when I was listening to it.
To be honest, I thought your audio was perfect.
Great.
At least
and I'm gonna put it back. Welcome to this episode 2 of Once More with Feeling, a podcast about great original movies sometimes, and they're often not so great remakes.
Sometimes, most of the time.
Sometimes, yeah, most of the time. Today we're looking at the second in Disney's ever animated movies, and also one that they remade, Pinocchio. Wow.
It is. Yeah, it's Pinocchio.
Let's talk about Pinocchio. So 1940, right? That's when Pinocchio came out, 3 years after Snow White. Just jumping right into it. 1940, What's the big thing that's happening in the world? That's right, World War II. It had just started the year prior. Well, obviously the Asian part of World War II started, I think, in 1937, so a while before. But the European part, which is really what everyone cares about, no, the European part started. European part started in 1939, right, with the German invasion of Poland, the Nazi invasion of Poland, I should say.
Gus, are you a World War II guy?
I'm okay.
You're one of those guys.
Here's what I want to clarify. Like, am I a World War II guy? Obviously. Am I a Rome guy? Obviously. But I think there's a lot of men who gravitate towards these things because they're like, oh, fucking war. Oh my God, yeah, conquest. And then I'm really is interested in World War II because I think obviously it's a gigantic event. It really set the stage for the history following it, right? We're still, I believe, I don't want to get too much into this because this is not a political or economic podcast, but I think the only reason the U.S. is so hegemonically secure is it has nothing to do with presidential policies. Reagan can go fuck himself. It's just that we had an 80-year head start on industry and economy. And then and now every other country is catching up or is caught up, and then and now we're sort of falling apart and committing suicide.
Yeah, a little bit.
We don't. Yeah.
No, I mean,
anyway.
I don't think that's irrelevant to the stuff that we're talking about here. That's kind of my focus. Anytime I talk about movies, where it's no, this is a fundamentally economic and political medium film because and to your point.
Yeah.
Because largely this medium and its standards were sort of established by the policies of World War II.
Yeah.
And especially the sort of decimation of the European film industry during those wars, which, kind of left the United States as the only country with a functioning film infrastructure, which
Absolutely.
we took complete advantage of.
Yeah, and I think there's something to look at. Pinocchio is so aggressively moralistic, and I think that's interesting to look at in the context of this big war. And even though most Americans, I think every American was not aware of exactly how evil the Nazis were at the time. Certainly there weren't people were not oh good, this European power is invading Czechoslovakia and taking over Austria and has designs on Poland, yay. So having Pinocchio come out when it did, yeah,
no, I mean, and Walt Disney himself was certainly aware of this political environment and political machinations surrounding this war and what that could the opportunities for his business therein. I
think actually it's it's interesting because I actually wrote my senior thesis on Disney, Paramount, and Warner Brothers cartoons produced during World War II. And certainly Disney like did get a lot of work making propaganda.
Yeah, absolutely. I just watched for the last movie night on my Discord channel. I made everyone watch The Three Caballeros in Spanish.
Great movie.
Oh my god, it's a stellar movie.
Yeah.
It's so weirdly horny. Like the entire movie is just an entire movie about how cool and fun Latin America is and how all the women are hot. And each song, like the song about Brazil is about how Brazil is really cool and fun and all the women are hot. And the song about Mexico is about how Mexico is really cool and fun and all the women are hot. And it's just a movie about how you really should go to Latin America and do some drugs and then and go harass some Latin women. They love it.
That sounds like a fun movie. Wow.
The way I'm describing it makes everything I'm saying sound really sarcastic, but it isn't. Like it genuinely is a very, very fascinating movie.
Yeah. You showed me one of the songs from it, and it was just it was really pleasant and really fun.
I think it's some of Disney's best. This is neither here. This has nothing to do with Pinocchio, but like Disney was, but part of certainly a A-list actor, actor as in industry actor, not as in this time when the United States really was focusing on soft power and building soft power.
Yeah. What's that like? What is soft power? Don't you only get people to do things? I'm pretty sure I had to force you to do this podcast at gunpoint, right? That's how international diplomacy works. Anyway, so 1940, this movie Pinocchio went into production like I think right after Snow White came out, or maybe there was some pre-production like while they were still finishing it up. It's an adaptation of the Italian children's book The Adventures of Pinocchio by Carlo Collodi. Apologies to the Italian listeners for that pronunciation.
Just lost the entire Italian diaspora. The Italian community is furious with us.
All of New Jersey just shut off their Spotify or whatever. It was released February 23rd in 1940, which is like several months. Or when did World War II start? Like April of 1939, something like that.
You're the World War II guy.
But this is what I'm talking about. Like, I'm not a date historian. I'm a fucking movement culture historian. Sorry, let me look it up. Timeline of World War II. September 1st.
Okay.
So it started on September 1st. It ended in April. The German side, anyway. September 1st. So this is only like 5-ish months after World War II started. The critics adored this movie.
Yeah.
They loved it. A critic named Otis Ferguson, who wrote for the New Republic, in his March 11th, 1940 review, said, "The limits of the animated cartoon have been blown so wide open that some of the original wonder of pictures is restored."
Woo.
Basically saying, like, this is the best thing to come to theaters since everyone got scared by that train. Like, literally, I didn't put it here, but the rest of the part of the quote that I omitted is like, since people got scared by the train, it's been restored. The Hollywood Reporter staff wrote in an early critic preview on January 30th, 1940, "Pinocchio's entertainment for everyone of every age, so completely charming and delightful that there is profound regret when it reaches the final fade out." And they later said, in the review, said the only way it was inferior to Snow White was its musical score. Film Daily said the movie is a tribute to the skill and ingenuity of Walt Disney and his small army of adapters, animators, and lyric and music writers. Frank Nugent of the New York Times opened his review with my personal favorite opening to any review ever. "If Westbrook Pegler," incredible name, "could write, as he did in January 1938, that Walt Disney's Snow White was the happiest event since the armistice, we can report confidently this morning that Mr. Disney's Pinocchio is the happiest event since the war." Which is great. And something that I noticed, just a little aside, looking at these old reviews is the way they're written, it makes it seem like the Pinocchio book was very well known, which makes sense, right? Adapting a popular book is not unusual and has never been unusual.
So, like, I gotta say, I liked this movie less than I thought I was going to. Like, from how much I remember loving it when I was a little kid. Like, Snow White and Pinocchio both were, mainstays. I remember very, very distinctly, like, seriously formative memories of mine from when I was like 4. These are some of the first movies I ever remember watching, and I remember thinking that Pinocchio was like both of them very, very enchanting and fun and a little scary, and it remains so. But like, there's something about it that there are a few things about it that made it a stranger viewing experience to me in a way that makes me think it just doesn't hold up as well as Snow White does. And I think there are a couple reasons for that. I think one of them is simply that Pinocchio is a didactic moralism fable, and it's not like a folkloric myth that's been like passed down so many times that all you've got left is archetypes, and it's weird too, because like one kind of would think, given the negative reaction that is sort of standard to have toward Disney princesses, that this story about how being a good person such that you can become a quote real boy, a real person, is someone who does everything that they're told and goes to school and comes home, and this is like the way that this movie conflates moral goodness with obedience, I think, is so much more troubling than anything Snow White has to implicate.
I broadly agree, and it's not that I don't necessarily like the message of the movie is very much like, go to school, don't smoke, don't drink, don't slingshot little poor animals or whatever, and those are all messages that I broadly agree with. Yeah, but it's like it's like the personification of the Hays Code. Yeah. This is literally like Sam Hayes as a movie.
Yeah. Yeah. Like Snow White is not like telling little girls how to behave. Right. Pinocchio is literally telling little boys how to behave. And it's really interesting to me that I don't think I've ever heard a criticism about that,
Yeah. Well, boys need to be controlled because they're crazy.
I guess.
They're all obsessed with World War II.
And Rome.
And Rome. But not in a healthy way like me. I also like Pinocchio. It's such a classic. It's like, it's up there. Obviously, Wish Upon a Star is like the Disney song. It's still, when you see a Disney movie, when it does the fucking in my opinion, way over animated, like Star Along the River, it's playing Wish Upon a Star so in the overworked background. It's just like, they had the perfect logo when I was a child.
I know.
And then
everything should be more like us.
Yeah. You know what we should do? We should spend $4 million on this way over CGI castle. Whatever. It's such an all-time classic, Pinocchio, and I played Kingdom Hearts, like Jiminy Cricket.
Totally.
Is a major character in that game. Conceptual, like in my mind, I love Pinocchio, and then I watched it and I was like, okay, the animation's still excellent.
Beautiful.
Figaro is adorable.
Oh my God.
They've got a sexy fish for some reason. Okay, I can move past that. But then it's like, it's more story heavy than Snow White. There's more of a plot. There's more kind of traditional storytelling.
Yeah, Snow White was very much focused on the animation, and it kind of seems like, I don't know, like at my most cynical, I guess I could say that the sort of filmmaking ethic that seems to be present in Pinocchio, and that all these, critics you just read are sort of responding to, like, and listen, I'm not married to this idea, okay? Like, I don't take too much stock. We're having fun, okay? Well, I'm just spitballing, but it kind of seems to me that there's an argument to be made that this movie was sort of the beginning of the end for Disney. like the
they
filmmaking,
had one good movie.
the filmmaking ethic that they've put forth here seems to imply that the animation is not self-justifying, that there has to be some kind of, like, some kind of realism in terms of narrative structure and what we expect from characters and the kinds of stories that they're supposed to fulfill.
I don't know if that's true because like Fantasia would come out later this year, and obviously like there's none of that in that movie.
That's a great movie.
And then something that I really notice is, like, it's more plotty, but there's also like 4 Deus Ex Machinas in the movie, so
that's
it's
right.
obviously,
yep, that's true. That's very true.
It's like there is more of a plot tying things together, but it's not as sort of story obsessed as we have since become.
For sure. Although, counterpoint.
Yeah, please.
Like, Fantasia was successful, but I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it kind of took a while to get that success. And it was like kind of similar to Snow White. It was considered like a sort of like wacky old Disney trying to make this thing out of like music, and who wants to watch that, and then it turned out everybody wanted to watch it.
I'm so glad that you brought up success, because that's the other part of my notes for the original run of Pinocchio, which is it fucking tanked at the box office.
Yeah,
it cost $2.6 million to make, which is about a little more than $1 million more than Snow White's like 1.4 million. Disney lost, like, the company lost like something like $1 million on the initial run, which
a lot of money at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a lot of money for normal people. I want $1 million.
You buy half a house that way. Why? Yeah. You could buy you could buy a studio apartment in your neighborhood.
I could buy one loaf of bread. No, that'll be in 4 years. But obviously, like, the downturn is obviously due to World War II, right? They had no access to Asian and European markets. They literally, like, couldn't, like, not only were theaters just not open, they couldn't, like, ship the film, which is always fascinating to think of before digital distribution. Like, you had to literally move it, and they couldn't because boats were getting sunk, and obviously war and all that stuff. And then also, and I this didn't really come up in my research, but having done the thesis that I did, I also think, like, part of why it kind of underperformed in the US was it's an Italian story. And we hadn't entered the war yet, and we wouldn't enter the war for another, like, year and 9 months in December of the following year. But, for the most part, like, Americans were pretty non-interventionist. Yeah. Publicly, but privately, everyone was like, kick the Axis in the fucking balls, please. Like, we were doing, like, at this point, we were doing, I think, Lend-Lease, supplying, like, supplies and such to England. I don't know if we had started doing the same for the Soviets yet. I don't think so. But the Italians were kind of bad guys. And one of the things that's really interesting, if you look at the sort of, I guess, just racism of the time, and because this, not to mention my thesis a fourth time, but this is, what I studied. I studied particularly, like, anti-Japanese cartoons and particularly shorts. And one of the really interesting comparisons to look at is the portrayal of Japanese characters versus Italian and German characters, where Japanese characters were very caricature-y, and Italians and Germans were not. In the cartoons, like, there's one Warner Brothers cartoon where Daffy Duck fights a Nazi general in the trenches, and the Nazi general is a hawk. And then there's another There's like a Bugs Bunny one where he's fighting the Japanese, and the Japanese are caricatures of the emperor.
Right.
You know, but even though it's not present in the portrayal of Italian characters, I still think it's like, you know, it's like this is a story set in
it's like we
that,
hadn't figured out what exactly we're supposed to imagine them as.
Yeah.
In the same way that we can just imagine Japanese people as basically a different species altogether.
Yeah. Yeah, a little bit. But I think there's some of that there. So yeah, Pinocchio initially very unsuccessful, but they re-released it in 1945 and then roughly every 9 years afterwards. And it made quite a lot of money for Disney.
And it should have. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It isn't,
it's not
obviously,
bad.
But like it's because it is beautiful. The animation is great.
It's gorgeous.
I see what critics mean when they say the animation has improved since Snow White. I think that's the case in more in some scenes compared to others. The underwater scene is so beautiful. It's such a cool scene that they didn't even try to replicate in the new one.
No, and I was kind of disappointed that it didn't show up. It took. Yeah. There was one thing I noticed that I wrote down. It took some animators like a whole year just to animate the water effects.
Jesus Christ!
Which is,
I mean,
I guess,
like I don't know. Maybe maybe the reason they didn't try that in the new one is because it would have required the same kind of labor input.
I wonder if it's part of that, and it's part of like who gives a shit. You know, it's like when and we kind of talked about this last time, but it's like, you know, even watching work that you know is obviously from a person, like all this animation and even a lot of the like cell animation that we'll see in later Disney movies, like you can look at that and you can appreciate that and you can be like, wow, that's beautiful. And then, you know, and then if you just have sort of an underwater CGI thing, it's like, okay, you put an effect over the render that you did. Congrats. You know, so it's like, who cares?
Yeah, it's like what did you make exactly?
Yeah. And those effects are also something that the way that I think Snow White was really sort of a big moment for like character and animal animation. Pinocchio, this movie, was big for effect animation. So you can see that in the water. You can see that in the fairy effects, although I don't think those look particularly great anymore. But that was a big deal. And you can see it in like the when Pinocchio like lights his little finger on fire, like the smoke there, the fire, it looks gorgeous. Right.
Yeah. The textures are all kind of bespoke. Yeah. It does. It looks great.
It looks great.
It's really beautiful. And Pinocchio himself is such a little cutie. Everybody in this movie is just adorable.
So cute.
Oh my God. I tried really hard to, watching this movie to just accept that the fish is hot and not think about it too hard.
I tried. I tried so hard. I was like, okay, there's a sexy fish. Totally, that's a choice. Like, I'm glad they're giving these characters defining traits. And then she like kept being sexy, and then she got kind of horny. And then I was like, okay.
This has got like, I mean, there's no moment like that for me in Snow White ever. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I don't think I get this.
Yeah.
Snow White remains completely accessible to me in a way that what's Pinocchio. The fish's name?
Oh,
Cleo, yeah.
Yeah.
And in a way that I'm not sure I understand Cleo.
Yeah, I don't really get Cleo either. One thing that really surprised me about this original movie is that Jiminy Cricket is a little fucking horn dog.
Disney was horny back in the day.
They were so... But they weren't that horny in Snow White. And then now it's like... You know,
Snow White was not horny at all.
And it's kind of weird because like now that all their characters are men...
Yeah.
And they're like, finally, we can have a cricket try to fuck an animatronic whistleblower or something.
And also the fairy.
Yeah.
Same thing with Three Caballeros, super horny movie. But like, it's just back in the day when it was like that's the, I so don't care about the princesses. This is the aspect of Disney that seems like it should be troubling to people, where it's like, this was a company, made by, that was like, it's very Mad Men coded, where it's like, this is it's good and proper for men to be publicly horny, and that's like cute,
Hold on. I want to push back on that a little bit, because part of the story, and this is also something I didn't remember, is, Jiminy signs up to be Pinocchio's conscience, but he's not like worthy of it initially. And that's, to me, like, that's kind of what they were representing with Jiminy's horniness, is like, he's a bit of a rake. He's a
scallywag.
He's a scoundrel.
He's kind of an okie,
Yeah, he's very much an okie.
Like,
absolutely.
He's a bum.
And it's very like Music Man. He's very much like I forget the guy's name. Hank Hill? That's not right. That's from King of the Hill. But he is horny, and if we ignore the fish, like that is sort of demonstrated as like, okay, here's a reason why he shouldn't be the conscience, and then that's part of Jiminy's arc over the movie is like he starts just by telling Pinocchio what's like good and proper for boys to do, and then he ends by believing in it himself and being
sure I'll
less willing to touch puppet butts or whatever.
It's not like Jiminy is ever like a bad guy. It's not like they suggest that the horniness of Jiminy Cricket is necessarily a problem. I think it is portrayed as, it's supposed to be cute, I think.
I think it's a cute way. The way that I read it, I think it's like a cutesy way of demonstrating a negative trait. Because it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, we don't like, you don't want to open this movie and be like, oh, this fucking cricket.
Oh, totally. No,
guy.
But I completely agree with that. But I think that like that's it's the sort of like patriarchal logic at play there is kind of bounded in a kind of like gamification of what it means to be male in a society like that, where it's like it's not proper for for anybody in Mad Men to be hitting on their secretaries, but everybody accepts it anyway because it's just the boys,
Totally.
And so like that's the attitude that I man, it's like I almost feel like it's not worth talking about at length, just because I don't think it's that much of a problem, but like not. It is but I guess the only reason I think what it is that I'm still kind of I'm just baffled by people's like reactiveness to Snow White and that we discovered last time, and to princesses in general, when there's so much about Disney to dislike.
There's so many real problems that deserve to be fixed, as opposed to like fake problems. Or like or much smaller
problems
issues
in order to fix them, you know?
Yeah. I see that. One thing that was kind of interesting to me, and it felt a little bit kind of like Disney passing the torch to a new kind of animation, was everyone in the movie was very sort of drawn, except for the fairy, who was the very same mocap style. The same style as Snow White. I
thought that was interesting.
I don't think they did rotoscope, but they might have done rotoscope for that one. I don't know. But they definitely did like reference images, and she looks a lot different than every other character in there. I just thought that was interesting.
She looks very Snow White,
Yeah. And I kind of wonder, putting myself back in my 1940s hat, which is a trilby. Thanks for asking. I just kind of wonder, like, was that, obviously the choice was intentional, and was it to hand off the movie into more of a, into this newer style of animation, or I guess more animated style of animation.
Yeah, I think that probably what happened, I'm completely making this up, okay? This is just complete conjecture, but I think what happened is that they saw how well received the dwarves were and all the like, humor animation that they were doing in Snow White, and they're doubling down on that. Like, let's do more caricature, let's do more humor, let's do more of the stuff that we know works. I kind of wonder how much of the style is like maybe not at all. Like, again, this is conjecture. I couldn't find anything to support or reject this at all. But it'd be an interesting thing to research, like how much of Disney's direction had to do with needing to compete with Looney Tunes, which was kind of on the rise at this point.
I think Merry Melodies, or unless Merry Melodies was Disney.
Merry Melodies is Disney.
I think it was, no, Merry Melodies and Looney Tunes are both Warner Brothers.
Oh, Disney is Silly Symphonies, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Because it seems like the way that they're animating Jiminy, and the kind of humor that they're employing seems like reads a little more Looney Tunes to me.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is Looney Tunes actually started also in 1930. Merry Melodies was like a version of Looney Tunes.
Right.
And I kind of just wonder if that's just how the animation developed into that style. Because if you look at, as I did for my senior thesis, if you look at... Oh, wait, no, Snow White. No, I'm sorry. Looney Tunes, 1930 was 10 years before Pinocchio came out. I'm crazy. But if you look, at the different studios around this time, there is a lot of similarity in like the slapstick, the violence.
Right, yeah. the kinds of cultural references they're making.
Yeah, mallets. Very similar stuff. So, yeah, that's very interesting. I don't know.
Because it just seems a little more... I hate to use this word because it's not precisely what I mean, but I hope you'll like pick up what I mean. It feels a little more immature than the animation in Snow White does. Like the jokes that they're trying to make.
The mallet thing with the with Honest John, and
which I love. To be clear,
it's so funny. I see that. I think that's really interesting. Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know. But one thing that I did also notice in Pinocchio, there, especially compared to Snow White, there was so much talking.
Yeah.
There was so much talking. And I think the reason there was so much talking is Disney was able to use their success of Snow White to basically like stunt cast this whole movie. Now, we don't know, like, none of these people are still that famous, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time.
This is why you shouldn't rely too much on stunt casting when you're making a movie.
I know. I mean, unfortunately, like, the voice actors did a good job.
They're great.
It's not like the
they're
Mario
awesome, yeah.
Brothers movie.
It is not.
But, it's like there was a very popular musician named Ukulele Ike who played Jiminy Cricket. And he's also the guy who like popularized the song Singing in the Rain in 1929, which of course would be made much more famous in the 50s movie Singing in the Rain. Pinocchio was played by a very famous child actor at the time named Dickie Jones, R.I.P.
Is he dead?
Well, probably, but also the name. And then what's crazy to me is he got Mel Blanc, who everybody should still know. He voiced virtually every Warner Brothers character until like the 60s. He got Mel Blanc to play Gideon the Cat, who you might remember from watching this movie recently, doesn't have any lines.
He does not speak.
No, he doesn't speak because they had, I guess, a whole script for him. He spent 16 days. I don't think they were consecutive, but he spent 16 days recording lines for Gideon. And then a little bit later in production, they were like, he shouldn't talk at all. And so the like 3 or 4 hiccups that you hear Gideon do, those are classic Mel Blanc hiccups. And nothing else of his made it into the movie, which is hilarious.
That is... It is super funny. I do think it's a good decision to make him mute, though. He's like, this movie's dopey.
Yeah.
And I also think it's just sort of There are things about that. Well, I mean, this is a problem. Whatever. None of this is a problem. They're just choices, I guess. But like, because Pinocchio as a story doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, and they're like, oh my god, like we can.
Oh, it's a fable, you know.
It's I mean, kind of. I mean, the story of Pinocchio is not even 200 years old, you know? And the original book
Fables
is
don't have to be
crazy.
old. They just have to have very strong morals.
I suppose. But like, so there's Figaro the kitten, and then also who's adorable and a
So
cat.
cute. Yeah.
And there's
Figaro
also
made me want to get a cat.
I love kitties.
It made me want to overcome my allergies and get a cat.
He's such a good kitty. They animate him so well, and he has such personality, and he's such a little grouch, which is so appropriate. But then also Gideon is a cat. And so
Yeah.
they have this odd sort of logic twisting, this kind of strange magical realism that like at this point seems sort of new to Disney. That's not the kind of thing that I think they would have done in Snow White, you know. It's strange to have a sexy fish. It's strange to have two cats in this movie, one that is a cat and the other that is an anthropomorphized cat.
Yeah.
It's just odd, you know.
I will say that Disney had already done that with Goofy and Pluto.
I guess that's true. Pluto existed by then?
Pluto existed. Pluto actually has been around before Goofy. Pluto's first appearance as named Pluto was in a short called The Moose Hunt, April 30th, 1931, so 9 years before. And Goofy's first appearance, Goofy's original name was Dippy Dog. But as Goofy, he first appeared in Orphan's Benefit in 1937. Okay. I'm sorry, 1934. So Disney had already done, and I think that's interesting because I think you're onto something with the sort of like they're bringing more silliness into their features. Yeah. Right. This is Disney's second ever feature film. Mm-hmm. I think there is something to like, you know, taking that like, here's a cat, and one of them is, you know,
one of them's a cat and one of them's a guy.
You know, and taking, you know, having the Goofy Pluto thing in the movie, having the more sort of slapsticky violence, which was very present in those shorts, and not as much in like Snow White, for instance. I think that's really interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about. I wonder if the difference between the two would make more sense if I also watched all of the Disney shorts that were being made, you know, and
Probably.
Maybe there'd be more of like an evolution, like a sort of straightforward, like, oh, okay, I can see how they're like developing this style, like with Snow White as kind of a basis, but yeah, it's interesting to me how this movie like felt a little jarring in a way that I didn't expect.
It felt a lot more. I think after Snow White, we were both kind of expecting another one of those, and it felt a lot more modern. Yeah, in a way that I think both of us were like, oh, okay,
right,
I guess.
Yeah, it's still gorgeous and it's still fun, and it's like the artistry at work is still really evident, but like Snow White just kind of blew me away, you know. Yeah.
This is not really related to like a critical analysis or whatever of the movie, but Lundwich, the like donkey boy from Pleasure Island, I've totally forgot its name.
Lampwick?
Oh, Lampwick. Oh. He says a guy only lives once. Yeah. And I thought that Drake invented that in 2000 whatever. But it turns out that he's a fucking hack and he stole it from Disney.
Does it strike you as odd at all that I mean, I don't know, maybe this movie is just very of its time, because it maybe the sort of, because like Snow White is not completely for kids. I'd argue that Pinocchio is more for kids, but this shit's scary. This shit's weird, you know?
I was just gonna talk about that.
The like shadow people.
Yeah.
What is happening?
Creepy.
Super creepy. The poor donkey Alexander.
Oh, the whole donkey
so
sequence
upsetting.
is terrifying.
And,
It's like it's unnerving.
It is unnerving, and I wonder how audiences at the time thought about that, because I don't think that's the kind of thing you could do now.
Well, they're not like, and that's one of the things is like they didn't really come up in reviews at the time. Mm-hmm. You know, Disney didn't do well, but I don't think that's, you know, it did very well once the war was over. So I don't think you can attribute that to anything. And it's very similar to like the Snow White Woods sequence, which was also like quite scary.
Yeah. So maybe it's just like one of those things of like, this was a time period where the experiences of children and the experiences of adults were not considered to be that separate. Like it was very much a time where children, like child psychology was not really certainly a nascent field at that point, and so people just kind of treated children like they were tiny adults, you know.
In a way, for sure. I mean, I think you were starting to see the beginning of like childhood and teenagedom as distinct experiences, but they weren't as like like I don't like it's not I don't think that children can't handle it. Like I don't think if you sit a kid in front of this movie they're gonna have nightmares, you know.
No,
I think what's happened lately is just children have gotten extremely coddled. Yeah. And not just, I don't mean definitely by parents necessarily, but like by corporations, especially, you know, for sure by. You know, it's like they've been so cowed by like the 3 pissed off moms at a PTA meeting. Yeah. That they're like, okay, nothing can be that scary. Mm-hmm. It's a self-imposed censorship. But at the same time, it's like that's happening in Hollywood movies because it's such an easily accessible medium. It's so easy to watch. But like you look at young adult novels, it's like all sex. Mm-hmm. It's all sex and violence. You know, I like first learned what a blowjob was. Well, that's not true. I first read I learned about it in 4th grade from a friend, who told me about it. And fun fact, didn't believe him. I was like, no one would ever do that. That's crazy.
This is some deep Gus lore.
Yeah, some deep Gus lore. He didn't believe in blowjobs when he first learned about them. But I first read about it like 6th grade in one of my like young adult, you know, fantasy adventure books. Mm-hmm. And that's still the case. And
that's why we can't be letting children read. Oh my God.
That's what I'm saying. Shut down libraries. This episode brought to you by libraries. Don't let them get shut down. Learn what blowjobs are. Anything else about the first movie?
Let me think.
I want to ask you what your favorite song was.
Hi, diddle-dee-dee, an actor's life for me. What a banger. Oh, my God.
I like that one a lot, too. I like that one, and, of course, the all-time classic, Got No Strings on Me. Mm-hmm. You know, which I believe, my personal opinion, the best ever rendition of that song, and the only reason I'm glad Disney bought Marvel is, of course, James Spader in Avengers Age of Ultron. Very well done. What was your favorite?
Yeah, I've Got No Strings on Me. That's another scene with weird Disney horniness.
What? Yeah, but that was also like horniness as a temptation.
He's supposed to be like 7.
He's a puppet.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's odd, though. I guess just an interesting insight into how people thought of childhood back then.
Yeah. What was your favorite like couple moments? Like your favorite like short part. Your favorite couple minutes in the movie.
Yeah.
I'm trying to establish like regular questions.
This is great.
Yeah. I've done my homework.
I think all the parts in this movie that are really, really focused on animation and still sort of proving a point about like, Walt Disney is a genius animator and look what he can do. The parts in this movie that do that with the clocks are really gorgeous. I
really want to mention the clocks because there was a whole team on this movie. There's a whole department that modeled. They built 3D clay models of all the characters, so animators could, draw each side well, and they built functioning models of the clocks for the animators to animate off of.
I wonder if anybody got to take this home.
I
hope so.
Hope so. And I just think that's really, really cool. I really loved the underwater sequence.
Yeah,
When I did my research before I watched the movie, and I was like, a year? Come on. And then I watched it and I was like, oh my God.
You're like,
Paid off.
Yeah,
Good job.
A year.
Holy shit.
It's interesting how, like, I mean, apart from the underwater sequence, like, the animation in Snow White is so concerned with animating life. And it seems like the animation in this one is really concerned with animating artifacts, which is interesting to me. That like all the clothing is really beautifully designed, and like all the clocks, all the any kind of mechanism, any kind of like all the carts, strombolis, horse cart
wagon.
And whatever. Yeah, the wagon, like,
which was also a model built by the character modelers.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Something to think about.
I guess.
Yeah. Let's move on to the second movie, the 2022 Pinocchio, straight to Disney Plus.
Okay, yeah.
What did you think of this one? What's your one word? What's your short review of it?
It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, but that doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
What is kind of baffling to me is how much worse reviewed this one is than Snow White, which, as we've established, I mean,
that shocked me.
Snow White, one of the worst movies ever made, is at like a comfortable 56% or something on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, this is at like 22.
Yeah.
I looked it up. I was like, I saw it was like 5.5 or something on IMDb. I looked it up on Metacritic. I'm like, surely the overall score is higher and people just generally recommend that you don't watch it. No, it's like a 2.6.
That's wild to me.
Critics hated this movie.
I'm not asking them to like it, you know, but the sort of outward hate for it that, again, Snow White didn't get is crazy to me. There were, against all odds, things I liked about this movie,
Tell me about those things.
I will, Gus. Thing one that I liked that I don't understand critics' disdain for is giving Geppetto a dead son. I think that is a good change. I will say, like, I understand there are certainly arguments for not making that change. It turns it into a different story, Yeah. Because now
it
it's
makes
like,
Geppetto a lot sadder of a character.
Makes Geppetto a lot sadder, but I also think that it like you need to pick a lane and just go for it, I think, because like in the original, I don't think it's necessarily any better that Geppetto just kind of like is this silly old man who wishes wouldn't it be cool if this puppet was like came to life, like, anyway, and then goes to bed and so then what we have is like this inanimate piece of wood who's been brought to this like horrifying facsimile of life by this like supernatural entity and then asked to justify its own existence, I think that's fucking weird.
You're talking about the original movie like it's some eldritch cosmic horror, and it's like a sweet no, it's not. It's like a sweet little fable. Why did the scorpion want to get across the river? The frog. What's the character motivation?
Why are we
behind the lion stepping on a thorn? How does it make
any sense for like for the blue fairy to bring to life this puppet and say, okay, now it's up to you. You got to prove that you deserve this. Like I kind of rubs me the wrong way, and I think that's changed a little. If the motivation is like, Geppetto has this dead son, he wished you to life because of the love he wants to give to a child. You must now prove yourself worthy of that love. I think that's a much different story. You know what I mean?
I don't disagree with you, but I will say I think you're approaching the old movie the way you've criticized everyone who's looked at Snow White as the like, why would the woman do that? Because it's a fucking story. That's why. It's not like you don't have to read it. Like, it's not, the story part of it is not designed for like critical reads. You know, how come
I do?
You know,
I'm just saying that, like, even then, I think that it would have made the story stronger for there to be an actual motivation to bring the puppet to life instead of just like on a lark, you know?
That's fair. I
just think it's an odd choice that changes the entire tone of the movie.
I agree with you, and I think like I was also surprised by how much I liked new Pinocchio, 2022 Pinocchio, and not that I like loved it.
Yeah.
You know, not even that I liked it, but it's like, you know, look, if you got a kid and you want them to
C's
like watch
get degrees. Yeah.
For 90 minutes, like, sure. It's like 100 minutes. Like, yeah, go for it. I did start the watching in a sort of state of Snow White induced dread.
I did too. Yeah. And so I think that may have colored both of our perceptions.
Yeah. So there were a couple points throughout the movie where it's like, I don't know if I'm actually enjoying this.
I know.
Or if it's just better than Snow White. I did have the note, if it's gonna be anyone, I guess it should be Tom Hanks.
I guess, but I will say this is not a good Tom Hanks turn. I do not like him in this movie at all. I like how he looks. I think that he's, you know, that works.
That is one thing that I felt pretty consistently is like, this is a movie that turned the animation stuff into live action stuff pretty well.
Yeah, I think so. Gideon and Honest John look great. That's my favorite part of the movie. Like Keegan-Michael Key is perfect. He's like his performance is really good. I don't know if they did any kind of mocap thing. My instinct tells me no, and it's just voice acting. But if that's the case, then the way that they're matching the animation to his performance is great. It looks really good.
Great job, animators.
Yeah,
solid work.
It is solid work, and like they get in some of that like good Disney slapstick in a way that reads properly and is legible and is funny. It looks good. So that's cool.
I thought even like Pinocchio, who like when I first saw the puppet, I was like, oh no, he's horrifying, gonna look terrible. And then he came to life and he like looked pretty good.
Looks okay, yeah, that's acceptable.
Fine.
Yeah, it's no dwarf, you know.
Yeah, oh my god. Figaro in particular, something that I noticed for Figaro, which I guess we'll talk about once we get to the Lion King, is that I think Figaro, the design in the live action movie it's not great because like I know what a cat's supposed to look like. And also here's like live action Geppetto.
Right.
But I will say like that is a better way to do a 3D Disney animal than like what they did with the Lion King. You know, like I'm glad for a cat.
Which is what?
Just like for Lion King, they just went full realism.
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
and then agree. For this cat, it's like it's a good way to preserve this sort of Disney weirdness and the agency that you need, the agency that character needs to have. Like, it can't just be a cat without. No, there's no without, right? It just you know, it didn't work perfectly, but it worked okay. And I think like.
Yeah, same for Cleo, where it's like
who was still
a sexy fish,
which was
still a weird choice.
One of the things I was really expecting them to cut from this movie is making the fish like hot and horny for a puppet and a cat, but you know, whatever.
It's fine. It's whatever. But like, I think it's. I think it's interesting that Figaro is a little more stylized. It's such a treat in these Disney remakes to actually encounter some kind of artistic vision. Like Figaro is a little bit stylized. Gideon is certainly stylized, looks almost exactly like the cartoon, but Honest John kind of isn't. Like they're animating, like he looks like a fox, Yeah. And like
Who can talk.
I particularly like how and this is something that wouldn't particularly be possible in the kind of Disney animation, like hand-drawn animation that they do, that like every time he smiles, he's also snarling. I think that's cool, I think it works really well.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, so that's cool. But back to Tom Hanks, I can't understand what he's trying to do with this accent, and it really bothers me.
He's just doing sort of like... There's a thing that actors do when they're paid a lot of money, but it's a project that's like they don't care that much about, where they put on this like kind of voice, and every actor has a different kind of voice. And this is Tom Hanks. This is Tom Hanks' voice. This is the voice that Tom Hanks does when he's like, well, they're paying me like $3 million. I don't know how much he actually got paid. It was probably less than that.
How much was this? How much did this movie cost? Can't believe I didn't look that up.
Oh my God. We need to do our reason. We need to develop a workflow for this podcast.
This movie cost $150 million. That's too expensive. That's way too much.
Okay,
money.
so sorry, Tom Hanks got $5 million, at least, and and he tried a bit, but he's also acting opposite a tennis ball.
Yeah,
so it's like that's...
he's Tom Hanks. Come on. Like this is the perennial problem that we're always going to have with any of these remakes, and that both of us I know have with the industry in general right now, where it's like everybody's way too fucking comfortable. You are Tom Hanks. It is your job to act as well as you can. That's what you're known for, and you're in a kids movie that takes place in Italy about a kooky old Italian clockmaker. Where's your kooky old Italian clockmaker voice? Give it to me.
Yeah.
When that guy appears at his house trying to buy the cuckoo clock, you're like, come on. The difference between the two is just so stark. And I am enjoying that other guy's performance so much more in that moment.
Yeah.
Like, give me a fucking crazy Italian accent.
I mean, speaking of crazy Italian accents, the guy who played Stromboli,
who is actually Italian.
He was actually Italian, but he also he was so good. He just went for it. Yeah. So hard.
He was perfect.
It was interesting watching this because it's like, I think this is, when you're dealing with creatives, and I think when you're dealing with people in general, but especially creatives and especially actors, like, and I guess writers too, like no one's accusing Mike White of like caring about the Emoji Movie. But anyway, when you're dealing with actors, it's like there's got to be a part of them that cares about the performance, that cares about the thing that you're making to get a good performance out of them. And for some reason, the guy who played Stromboli really cared. I thought Cynthia Erivo, Cynthia Erivo really cared.
Yeah, she was good.
Keegan-Michael Key really cared. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt, I don't know. Tom Hanks, I don't know.
I like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's performance a lot more than I like Tom Hanks, I will say.
Yeah, I kind of felt like Joseph Gordon-Levitt was doing a little bit of like hillbilly face paint. Like I just watched 500 Days of Summer. I know what he sounds like, but that's okay. If they were looking for like the actor who could best copy the original Jiminy voice.
I think it is a fair impression,
Yeah.
I don't know how much I can't imagine there is a whole lot of leeway in creatively interpreting Jiminy Cricket. I
don't think there was.
It's like,
I don't think there was.
There is one public perception of what Jiminy Cricket is, and we must recreate that. I do not like his character design.
It was a little like...
You remember Ants? The movie Ants.
Yeah. Yeah, with Woody Allen.
Yeah.
Woody Allen Bugs Life. I do remember Ants. It was a little antsy.
It's a little ants. Yeah.
It's a little ants. Yeah, so and it's interesting because like Pinocchio, they took straight from the cartoon.
Yeah.
And looked pretty good. Mm-hmm. And then Jiminy, they also kind of took straight from the cartoon. Didn't look as good. Like needed a little more something or a little less something else. Or
yeah. I mean, I sympathize, I guess. It must be hard to anthropomorphize a bug. But, maybe could have been the first clue that we should take our budget and put it in a different movie. Yeah,
maybe. I will say, like, one thing that kind of stuck out to me through this whole movie was, like, and again, I don't think it's amazing. But I do think it was a really good, like, this is the way to adapt older movies.
In what way?
Well, I'm so glad you asked. In the way that, like, there are things in the first movie that don't work anymore, not just in outdated ways, but they don't fit, like, how we tell stories anymore. And they especially don't fit how Disney tells stories anymore, which is, not here or there. But so, like, they added these two characters, Fabiana and the seagull, Sophia, who, like, do they fit perfectly? No. But they're both there to serve a purpose that the fairy serves in the original movie, right? Because in the original movie, like, Pinocchio gets shut in the cage by Stromboli. Correct. And the fairy comes and lets him out. And they return home from Pleasure Island, and the fairy sends a dove with a message. Yes. It's like, your father's in a whale. And here it was like Fabiana lets Pinocchio out because they became friends. And then the seagull or something helps them find...
Yeah, the seagull knows where Geppetto went.
Yeah, the seagull helps him find Geppetto because Jiminy and the seagull became friends. And, like, could it have been integrated a little better? Of course it could have. But I think, like, in terms of those, like, the changes that you should make, I think those are, like, good changes. I think it makes the story work a little better, a little more modern.
I agree with the seagull.
Yeah.
Who, by the way, like, the obvious casting choice here was Awkwafina, and I'm so glad they didn't do that. I'm so glad they got
You're so glad they saved Lorraine Bracco.
Yes, Lorraine Bracco, who's Melfi.
You're Dr. glad Melfi. That they saved Seagull Awkwafina for The Little Mermaid.
Yeah. Awkwafina in this movie would have made it that much worse, and instead they put all of their worst shit in The Little Mermaid, which is a contender for with Snow White for worst Disney remake. I still think Snow White beats it out, but it's gonna be.
That's only 10 episodes away. Stay tuned.
But I don't think I agree for Fabiana. I think I don't know what that character's doing there. She's a total plot cul-de-sac. You're just, like, creating this entire character out of whole cloth when it seems like the way to address the fairy Deus Ex Machina in that situation is simply to have Jiminy be able to open the lock.
Yeah, and they also, they do that too. I might be misremembering a little bit because Pinocchio lies to get the nose to the wall.
Yeah.
Which is another thing, right? Like that kind of like using the ability to solve the plot issue. Like that's a more modern thing,
And also with Fabiana, I really think she's one of the weakest parts of this movie, where it's like, I mean, part of what's weird about it is that it seems very much like they're setting up a love interest for Pinocchio, which already feels a little odd, Yeah. I guess it's not that much weirder than, like, having a dance number where all the puppet ladies are hitting on Pinocchio, but the point is that they never resolve that ever. And her last appearance is her showing up in Stromboli's wagon because Stromboli has been sent to prison for reasons we're not told. And then and she's like, hey, I'm starting a new puppet company, and I guess this is like the last temptation Pinocchio has to like go but he decides to save his father instead. But like, this doesn't really seem like a temptation to me. Of course you're going to go save Geppetto. What?
Right.
And then that's just like never really. That's the end of that. You know, we don't ever really we don't ever figure out what happened to her foot.
She got an injury.
Oh, it's just like
it was injured.
It just seems like so much. Yeah, it just seems like they wrote in this character to fix a problem that wasn't really a problem, but instead it like introduced a whole lot of different problems.
There was very much a sort of a couple kind of like easy to cut out Disney throwing a bone to whatever marginalized group was like favored when the movie was in development. I think in this movie it was disabled people with the foot,
right?
Or I should say physically disabled people, to not erase myself.
Yeah, I think that probably is the case.
You know,
and
there was like the teacher lady who like escorted the kids to school, who like Geppetto was like, that's this woman. She does this. Hi, this woman.
Right.
And she says, hi back. And then just doesn't show up again.
Yeah, Pinocchio
like,
gets to school and she's not
just
there.
Want,
and yeah.
Did you just want like a black person in the movie?
Right.
To like...
It's not good. And like, to be clear, because I think that I don't think it's ever a bad thing to clarify that like the problem here is not that black people don't belong in Disney movies or disabled people don't belong in Disney movies at all.
Yeah, it's that like make them fit. Don't just throw them in to throw them in. Make them
that is
fit
that
in.
is tokenizing. It's almost as bad as not as as ignoring the presence of marginalized people altogether.
Yeah.
Like if you're just putting marginalized people in your movie to if you think that all that has to be done to represent a marginalized community is for a marginalized community to be physically present in the room, then you're misunderstanding what the issue is here. You know? Yeah.
So I'm looking at the woman who played this role, Sheila Etim, who is number one, an MBE, a member of the British, Most Excellent Order of the British Empire. I think she's a knight, or I guess a dame.
British people are so funny.
Yeah, she's like a very accomplished theater, TV, and film actress. And she has a line.
That's weird.
As she walks by.
That's weird.
This thing. That's bizarre.
It is bizarre. Like, there's such a feeling of disjointedness in so much of what Disney does right now, where it's just like these complete non sequiturs in casting, in story, in development, in design. Like, it's really frustrating.
Yeah. You know, it's entertainment as a factory. It's a factory of
yes, it is.
shit.
Which I think is a good time to go ahead and bring in the few production notes that I could find, and
go for it.
And my opinions about them, because I do have many. I have thoughts about how this. I didn't expect to have so many thoughts about how this movie was ultimately distributed, but I do. So there's really not a whole lot of information about how this movie was made, which is another difference between I think Disney now and Disney then. It kind of seems like, kind of similarly to Snow White, there were points during production where they were like, it kind of seems like they were embarrassed by this movie, and they were like, oh, we shouldn't really be making this, and let's not let anybody know that we are.
Yeah.
Let's not let anybody know that we're making a movie so that they can not see it.
Yeah, because the thing that I saw, and then I'll let you get to your thing, is Dumbo really fucked up Disney's release strategy.
Yeah.
Because Dumbo
is bad.
And I have not seen it, but we were watching it next. Tanked.
Yes.
Like, did horribly.
And it deserves to.
And And that made Disney, Disney was just kind of rotely, I guess, going through and live actioning all of their animated or their still popular animated stuff. And then Dumbo did horribly. And then they were like, okay, we're going to not release this in theaters because we don't want to get embarrassed. And we're just going to eat the cost and lie to our investors and say that of course live action 2022 Pinocchio is worth more than we produced it for on Disney Plus. Of course it provides like a fifth of $1 billion in value to our streaming platform. No, it doesn't.
So fucking stupid. Oh, it's so irritating. So yeah, there's just not a whole lot of information about the choices that went into this movie, because I don't think any choices really did go into this movie. I think that, I don't know, for reasons we'll talk about in a second, it's like the focus of movie making is really not on the filmmakers anymore. And so the choices that they make just really don't matter to the company as a whole, because the company as a whole is focused on business decisions and how to package and sell all this stuff. They do not care about whether the movie itself makes sense, is coherent, is it like sustains their brand. Like it's crazy. So yeah, it's not a whole lot of information about this. Tom Hanks is attached at some point and then leaves and then rejoins when Robert Zemeckis agrees to it. They're frequent collaborators, as we all know. Forrest Gump, Castaway, whatever. And so I think this whole streaming thing is one of the biggest red flags about this movie in particular, for sure, but also just the industry as a whole. It is either extraordinarily bad luck or extraordinarily bad planning that this came out the same year as Del Toro's Pinocchio. That, because he'd been working on that for years and years and years, and it is just far and away a better movie.
Or was it intentional?
No.
Was it?
Way.
You don't think so?
Way. No way.
You don't think that Disney was like, oh no, this new Pinocchio is coming out, we have to remind people that
no, I think
that
if
we own the Pinocchio.
If that was the point, then it didn't work. That this version of Pinocchio has no legs. Putting it up against Del Toro's movie, which is kind of a masterpiece, like so many of the movies that he makes. Everybody loved his version. And so having that exist in the same year as this version from Disney that's supposed to be the definitive one, the one that everybody remembers, is just I think that if it was intentional, it was to that they just wanted to put it out as fast as possible so that they could, get that, get any kind of plausible deniability for their investors set, because if they had released it in 2023 instead, then it would have really seemed cringe and also ran, but regardless, to me, it's an interesting occurrence industrially that says something about the state of filmmaking, in my opinion, and how streaming has really changed the industry. The video I just finished is kind of about this, about how streaming changed the horror landscape, and what we're calling elevated horror is not a genre. It's just it's a function of streaming being the dominant distribution platform, and so it seems to me there was a time when if Disney had heard that a director like Del Toro was making a Pinocchio movie, or vice versa, if Del Toro had heard that Disney was making a Pinocchio movie, one of them would have shelved it. There's a part of the Lord of the Rings making of documentaries, the appendices on the DVDs, where the entire production team starts panicking because they're working on the Dead Army of Dunharrow and are realizing that Pirates of the Caribbean is coming out the same year and also has ghost people. Just the threat of seeming a little too similar to another movie that was coming out that year was enough for the production team of the Lord of the Rings to be like, oh, fuck, what do we do? How do we differentiate it enough? And that's it just doesn't seem like a concern that anybody has anymore. It's that's not as much of a marker of professionalism in this era for whatever reason.
I don't know. I kind of want to push back on that idea.
Go for it.
It's something I've been thinking about. It's something I might write about on my Substack newsletter situation, which is that a lot of streaming companies like don't compete, period. And in particular, and this is a weird thing to talk about in the middle of a Pinocchio thing, but it is technically still Disney. So Abbott Elementary comes out in the year that I'm going to say, because I just looked it up. Abbott Elementary airs 2021. And it's pretty immediately, like, everyone's like, oh my God, it's a great show. It's a great sitcom. And for like 3 or 4 months, all the other companies, Netflix, NBC, or whoever owns NBC now, Fox, who else is there? Warner Brothers, like they're all, they all sent out to the agents who are covering them, like, we want our Abbott Elementary, like, let's get our sitcom. Where's our single cam sitcom? And then 4 months later, they're like, we're just gonna let Disney have this one. We're just gonna let ABC. This is just ABC's show. Like, there are literally like 8 comedies airing right now. 8 TV comedies airing. There's a market for it. We know there is, because Abbott Elementary is doing so well that like each of the main cast is getting like $400,000 an episode this season. And yet every other streamer is like, let them have it, whatever. There's like NBC, fortunately, I think there's like 3 or 4 new comedies airing soon that they're working on the pilots for. But like, people saw this smash sitcom hit that is not that expensive to produce, that people watched the shit out of, that critics loved, and their reaction was like, meh.
Well,
whatever.
I don't think that's a pushback against what I'm saying at all. I think you're just agreeing with me. I'm kind of.
Did I misunderstand what you were saying?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of saying that streamers don't really compete with each other in terms of content anymore.
We agree.
Yeah, they do compete with each other, but it's not about what they're making. It's about how they're selling it, like how they're structuring their businesses. So this version of Pinocchio is released on streaming in 2022. And it seems like a lot of thought went into that decision. Arguably more thought than went into the movie itself. This is in like very much the middle of the streaming wars, where legacy studios are trying to compete with pre-established streaming platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, like all these companies. It was like considered, they were such underdogs for so long, and then suddenly they're making original stuff, and now, oh no, the legacy studios have to compete with that. And the way Disney does it, as a lot of these other companies do, is by making their own streaming platform. And so Disney Plus, and I remember when Disney Plus came out, like everybody thought it was a little cringe, So Disney Plus is in the process of being made at this point, and Disney seems a little unsure about how much they want to bank on Disney Plus. Like you said, their last live action remake is Dumbo, super flop, and it kind of seems like at that point it was too far along in the process of producing Pinocchio to turn back. They just had to go ahead and send it. And just didn't really seem to know what to do with it. So I think Disney Plus is. So I mean, I don't really even think this is a matter of opinion. It's just like Disney's stab at clawing back more and more of the vertical integration strategy that the industry used to have access to before the U.S. versus Paramount decision.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah. I mean,
and monopolies, please.
I know
it makes everything worse.
Fuck's sake! To my knowledge, Disney never owned its own theaters like Paramount did, but
they did.
Did they?
I don't know if they owned like a lot, but they owned the El Capitan Theater.
That's
in
right.
Hollywood.
That's right.
And I think they still owned it after the Paramount Papers. So there must have been some
loophole,
something where it's like you can own one theater or something. I don't know.
But streaming changes that for everybody. Now vertical integration is fine. And so now Disney has explicit control over the exhibition of its own stuff. And the pandemic gave them a great excuse to just go ahead and pick a team between theaters and streaming without making it seem like picking a team was actually what they were doing. Fucking cowards, you know? Oh, we'll put this movie up on streaming for you. And like you said, you sort of, you know, pointed to this a few minutes ago. I think for movies like Pinocchio, streaming is a really, really good exhibition opportunity, because one of the nice things about streaming for companies is that it's there's less of a risk of embarrassment. You know, you can kind of occlude how the audience is actually reacting to this movie by just shoving it on streaming. If a movie does badly on streaming, like, nobody's really going to know. Yeah, who gives a shit?
Yeah,
there are no humiliating box office numbers to see. They can still appeal to the novelty of streaming and be like, oh, like see, look how many people watched Pinocchio on streaming. It was like the most streamed whatever and in whatever, and that number sounds impressive enough, even though nobody likes it. Like, there's not going to be, nobody's going to care about the like week to week audience drop off, because it's just such a like. It's just a lower investment to turn for audience members to turn on a streaming service than it is to get up and spend like $30 fucking on a movie in a theater that you know isn't going to be good. And then besides that, the industry of streaming just like cares about different numbers than theaters do. And those numbers are so like intuitively disconnected from the success of the movie than box office numbers are. That I just think it's easier to disguise a failure. Like, if 20 million people watch something on a streaming service, like, what does that mean? Like, does each person represent $1 or $10? Like, what is that doing for the movie? Except signaling the studio's ability to make a movie work on streaming, and therefore gain more potential funding for some kind of potential future movie. You know,
and also all of these the watch numbers. Like every service classifies a watch separately.
Yeah.
You know, what is a watch? Like, on YouTube, I think YouTube, there was something I read recently that was like, YouTube just reclassified what a watch is on YouTube Shorts to boost numbers. Yeah. To make it seem more impressive.
Yeah, you can just manipulate this shit behind the scenes and like, you can't do that in theater runs. Either somebody bought a ticket or they didn't.
Yeah. It's bad.
It is bad.
It's
well,
not good.
I mean, I think
it's not like a good thing.
It's not. It's kind of that. It's the same thing of finance logic being grafted onto the film, you know, like film industrial logic that we've talked about in like personal conversations before, where success is kind of like filmic success is considered like the property of the company that funded the film instead of the people who actually made the film. And we're just basically focusing all our energy on futures bets instead of what's actually being produced now, you know, like, which to me seems like a pretty good manifestation of the same impulse Disney's been following in all of their live action ventures, where it seems like Disney wants you to take these live action remakes as seriously in the originals, as the originals in terms of how much money and praise they think they deserve, but not so seriously that the movies themselves should be judged by the same quality standard. You know, that sucks.
There's this weird obsession that people have of just like cheering box office successes or box office failures. And it's like, are you an investor in the company? Like, why do you care? You know,
so it makes people feel like very intelligent business boys, you know.
It just doesn't make sense to me. It's just like, you know, we've talked about this before. One of the things that I really believe about media companies is that you can see the problems with the business a lot earlier than other industries because their product is so public facing, right? Like if a tool company replaces their good steel with shitty steel, you know, you're not going to immediately notice that because like, 100,000 hammers will fail soon, but like you're not going to watch it on screen. You see like sort of companies like chasing money over everything. You see companies cutting corners, or like media companies cutting corners. Like that's going to show up on screen as a worse movie,
Right.
or as a worse TV
And
show. It's very obvious.
And it seems like most of the industry has just like right now has just sort of refocused all its energy into disguising that that's the fact instead of making good movies. Like how do we get away with making shitty movies is kind of the business model of the industry.
It's the most mind-boggling thing to me, and I think it's something that comes out of this idea that has really infected American business in particular, which is like every publicly traded company in the US, I think. Yeah, every publicly traded company, like legally, has to make the decision that most benefits their shareholders.
Yes.
And when it comes to something like filmmaking, which benefits from inefficiencies, which benefits from weird disasters, which benefits from taking your time, and which benefits from like strange, hard to quantify things like chemistry.
Yeah.
Like actor chemistry, like director actor chemistry, like trying something and being willing to spend $130,000 on a shot that you might just not use. It gets into such conflict with this like financials, money, Wall Street point of view. And right now, unfortunately, that Wall Street point of view is winning.
Yep.
But we're like, that's why we're seeing shitty movies.
And we're seeing, the ultimate failure of that approach, where it's like, as we've talked, we talked about this too, where it's like the idea that shareholder value should be king is all well and good if everybody has the same conceptualization of what value means.
Right. And for most people it just means share price.
Yes, but like even within that, it's like it's immediate share price. It's how much of a revenue can you flip in the shortest amount of time possible, which is often not like, and film is the perfect is the perfect case study for why shareholder value is such a stupid idea, because it's like they're making really bad long-term business decisions.
Yeah, I think I think what it's really going to take, and this is something that we see from A24, which I really like, and we see from honestly like a lot of people who are getting started on social media. Not everybody. I think quite a lot of people on social media are just like, how can I monetize everything? But it's gonna just take a return to like the point of an entertainment company is to make good entertainment.
Yes. The point of an entertainment company is not to provide shareholder value. The point of an entertainment company is to make entertainment.
And it needs to be. Yes. And whatever money they take, then whatever money they make has to be in service of making more entertainment.
Yes.
And I think that's true for everything. I think if you look at, and I don't want to, this is also not an economics podcast, but if you look at, there's two companies that had gigantic turnarounds recently. Barnes and Nobles and Abercrombie and Fitch both had enormous turnarounds. And the way they did it is they kicked the finance people out of leadership positions. They put a bookseller in charge of Barnes and Noble, and they put like a clothing person in charge of Abercrombie and Fitch. And crazy. And like, it's insane. I'm not saying finance is not important. Like, obviously you need to make a profit, right? You need to be able to pay your employees and pay your vendors and make sure everybody like can support their life. But the money has to be a secondary concern. It just has to be.
Well, unless you arrange things such that you can capture a monopoly in whatever your space is, you don't make money unless like this is. I'm sorry, I thought we were capitalists. Like I am not a capitalist, and even I know that. Like it's the entire point of this. And the entire myth Rita, get out of here. Go away. I'm sorry, my dog is bothering me. Go away. Like the entire myth that of a meritocracy, and the entire idea that like, oh well, the quality of the product is a reflection of the amount of investment that it received. Like, we need to arrange things such that that is the case. It doesn't just magically become the case, Yeah. And then if, because otherwise, eventually you're not going to make any money. You're going to make Snow White and it's going to bomb. And everybody's going to think of Disney as a worse company because of it. So you're going to make Pinocchio and it's going to bomb and it's going to get shunted onto streaming. And even though it's a better movie than Snow White, people aren't going to receive it that way because everybody's even what we're seeing with Marvel right now, where like Captain America, Brave New World, not a good movie. Thunderbolts, good movie. It's not.
Thunderbolts it is a good movie. Whatever, we're allowed to disagree.
Yes,
but
we are.
I think Thunderbolts is better than Captain.
Oh yeah,
America,
for sure.
Brave New World,
definitely.
I would put Thunderbolts in good movie territory. My mom, who just walked in, because she's visiting, not because I still live with her, is also thinks it's a good movie. But because Captain America was bad. And because so much of Marvel has been bad, now even when they have a good product, people are going to be like, well, the rest of them were bad. It happened with Blumhouse. Blumhouse, which is, I think, a pretty good producer who, generally does good movies. They had a couple, they were a little too profit focused. And they made movies that weren't good movies, and then people didn't go see them, and they didn't go see the good movie that came after it, and
that's what happens.
And it creates this death spiral.
Yeah. So instead, let's set up this exhibition structure where all the numbers are made up, and you can manipulate them to however would benefit you most. And none of the audience understands what any of these numbers mean, and couldn't access them even if they cared. And nobody's talking with each other about movies. Movies are just something that we experience in complete isolation, and then say something about it to our friends if it was really that great, and then otherwise just stop thinking about it. It's just like the entire it's just crazy how changing the exhibition structure of art changes the art itself, Yeah.
And in my opinion, for the worse.
For the worse.
Yeah.
At least right now, for sure. Yeah.
This episode brought to you by movie theaters. Go see a movie.
Go see a movie.
In a theater.
Get up off your fucking couch, leave your house, and go see a movie.
Yeah. I'm going to see Superman tonight. I'm very excited.
You'll like it.
Yeah. Cool. Good. Anything else?
No, I guess not. I guess that's kind of a bummer way to end this episode, but it's a bummer movie. So what are you gonna do?
it's a. Let me see do I have my outro from last episode.
Do you want to recommend a movie that you've seen?
Oh yeah, let's recommend a movie that I've seen.
I have one. It's Superman.
Oh, okay.
I saw Superman and it was really delightful, and I liked it a lot. And everybody should go see it.
I did not watch this, but on the plane back to LA, my wonderful girlfriend watched 10 Things I Hate About You, a modern retelling of Shakespeare's Taming of the Shrew. Very fun play. Watch that movie. It's pretty fun.
It is fun.
Cool. Thanks for joining us on the second episode of Once More with Feeling. Oh my God. 2 already? We're going to have another one for you in a couple weeks looking at Disney's Dumbo.
One of my favorites. God. One of my favorites and least favorites. Favorite originals and least favorite remakes. Disaster.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love the original Dumbo.
I have not seen the original Dumbo I think since I was like 6.
It's so good. It's so bizarre. But it like to me it it's a little more of the, I guess it's a little more what I was kind of expecting with Pinocchio, where it's like a little more abstract and a little more artsy, for lack of a better word. I don't know.
Okay. Exciting.
Yeah.
Very fun. If you want to support us, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/oncemorewithfeeling, where you can become a member of our movie club and get exclusive access to the show's Discord, chat with us and other movie heads about movies and other things. You can follow us on various social medias at WithFeelingPod, P-O-D. Do you have any questions, comments, or concerns? Were we incredibly wrong about Pinocchio? Let us know by emailing us at withfeelingpod.
Wait, I have two more notes
gmail.com.
about the new Pinocchio. First,
okay.
it was a thing I liked, okay? And a thing I really, really disliked.
I forgot to do those. God damn it. We'll get into the flow eventually. What was your favorite part of modern Pinocchio?
Probably the Pleasure Island sequence. I think that probably went as well as it was ever going to. I actually really, really like the part where they're in the boat and they float into the room where all the kids are destroying all the clocks. And Pinocchio says they look like my father's clocks, and it makes him sad. I think that's really good. I think that's a really good addition.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your favorite part?
My favorite part of Pinocchio was there was a moment. I wish I wrote down exactly. My favorite part was Stromboli. I thought he was so
great.
good in this.
Yeah,
version.
everybody in the live action,
fun.
should be that like extreme.
Just go balls to the wall with it.
Yeah.
He was so good. Like I'm not even going to qualify that one. He delivers a great performance.
Yeah.
Period. He's the best part of the movie.
Remake or no.
What was your favorite song?
We already went over this.
No, we went over it for the original. Is it the same song?
The same
Is it a different song?
No.
Okay. Yeah, mine was also the same song.
Did you notice that they took out "Give a Little Whistle" in the new one? That's a shame.
Yeah. Well, they added like 2 songs
That didn't need to be there.
Well, it's like, and this is something because we've been talking about how excited we are to talk about Aladdin,
Yes.
And we can, that's a while from now. But I so badly need the people composing the additional songs to match the original better, because right now it's just so jarring.
It's awful. And Aladdin's a perfect movie to talk about that with. Oh my god.
Yeah. And I thought Cynthia
Erivo.
I thought the Wicked Witch of the West was great.
Yeah, she was
or
good.
East, whichever one. She was great.
Did you notice at the end the way Pinocchio revives Geppetto is literally almost shot for shot the same way Rapunzel revives Flynn Rider in Tangled?
I did not notice that because I haven't seen Tangled.
Do you think it counts as self-plagiarization if you do that in a movie? It's the same.
The tear reviving somebody is too much of a trope to cross the line into plagiarizing.
Name another movie that has a tear reviving someone.
I will. Tears reviving people trope. Swiss Army tears on TV tropes. You want a movie?
Yeah.
Okay. Films. Do you want animated or live action?
Whatever. Give me the best
action.
known that you can come across.
I mean, when Fox the Phoenix cries on Harry's wound.
That does not count.
Okay.
Phoenix tears are like known to do that. That's part of the,
In Osmosis Jones, when Bill Murray is dying, his daughter cries and a tear drops into his mouth, transporting osmosis through the tear.
I'm just saying, I think it's weird that that's what happens in Tangled. Precisely this is what happens in Tangled.
Oh, it does. I'm sorry. It does actually happen a lot in Disney. It happened in Beauty and the Beast. It happened in Fantasia.
What?
It happened in Fantasia 2000.
What in Beauty and the Beast?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's not exactly. It's like it's the trope is Swiss Army tears. Like the tears do a bunch of things.
I'm not talking about tears doing a bunch of things.
Oh my God.
I'm talking about tears reviving people from the goddamn dead. From the great beyond, your tears bring them back with the power. It's even a star. In Entangled, it's the sun, but whatever. I'm
so sure that I've seen this before. Oh, Doctor Who, season 10, episode "The Doctor Falls." That happens. What else? Power Rangers. Power Rangers in space. Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. I think I've proven my point. If you can think of other times tears have brought people back to life, send us an
Please
email.
Please do. I'd love to know, because I will accept that it's an established trope, but I just think this is way too specific to not be self-plagiarization.
I feel like I've seen it everywhere. I don't know. Whatever. Thanks so much for listening, everybody, and we'll see you next time when we talk about Dumbo. That's an elephant noise. That's the outro noise.
Okay.
I'm also gonna stop. Still going.
Just stare like and buzz once more with feeling. When you're out of fresh designs, don't accept your clear decline.